Final Fantasy XII is a fantasy role-playing video game developed and published by Square Enix for the PlayStation 2 platform. Released in 2006, it is the 12th title in the mainline Final Fantasy series. The game introduced several innovations to the series: a seamless battle system, a controllable camera, a customizable gambit system which lets the player automatically control the actions of characters, and a licensed system that determines which abilities and equipment are used by characters. Final Fantasy XII also includes elements from previous games in the series such as summoned monsters, chocobos, and moogles. The game takes place in the fictional land of Avalis, where the empires of Arcadia and Rosaria are waging an endless war. Dalmascar, a small kingdom, is caught between the warring nations. When Dalmascar is annexed by Arcadia, its princess, Ashe, creates a resistance movement. During the struggle, she meets Vaan, a young adventurer who dreams of becoming a sky pirate in command of an airship. They are quickly joined by a band of allies. Together, they rally against the tyranny of the Arcadian Empire. Final Fantasy XII received critical acclaim, earning numerous Game of the Year awards in various categories from noted video game publications. Selling more than 2 million copies in Japan, it became the fourth best-selling PlayStation 2 game of 2006 worldwide. As of March 2007, over 5.2 million copies of the game have been shipped worldwide. A sequel, Final Fantasy XII: Revenant Wings, was released for the Nintendo DS in 2007. Gameplay. Throughout the game, the player directly controls the on-screen character from a third-person perspective to interact with people, objects, and enemies. Unlike previous games in the series, the player can also control the camera with the right analog stick, allowing for a 360 degrees view of the surroundings. While in towns and cities, the player may only see from the perspective of Vaan, but any character may be controlled in the field. The world of Final Fantasy XII is rendered to scale relative to the characters in it, instead of a caricature of the character roaming around. Miniature terrain. As found in the earlier Final Fantasy games, every area is represented proportionally. The player navigates the overworld by foot, chocobo, or airship. Players may save their game to a memory card using save crystals or gate crystals, and may use the latter to teleport between gate crystals. An in-game bestiary provides incidental information about the world of Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII restructures the system of earning gil, the currency of the Final Fantasy games. Instead of gil, most enemies drop loot which can be sold at shops. This ties into a new battle mechanic which rewards the player with improved loot for slaying a particular type of enemy multiple times in a row. Selling different types of loot also unlocks a Bazaar option in shops, which provides items at a lower cost, or items exclusive to the Bazaar. Battle system. The elimination of random encounters, started in Final Fantasy XI, continues in Final Fantasy XII. The previously common transition to a separate battle screen is absent. Instead, enemies are visible in the overworld area before an engagement, and the player may choose to fight or avoid them. Battles unfold in real time, using a system called Active Dimension Battle. A battle begins when the party comes within range of an aggressive enemy, if the party attacks an enemy, or if a story event initiates a confrontation. When a character or enemy begins to perform an action, target lines connect characters to other party members or enemies. Different colors represent the type of action. The player may swap to and issue commands to any of the three characters in the battle party at will. However, guest characters are controlled by the game's artificial intelligence. Battle commands are initiated through a series of menus, and include attack, magics and techniques, mist, gambits, and items. The player may switch any active character with an inactive character at any time, unless the active character is targeted by an attack or ability. Characters who are knocked out may also be substituted. A new feature in Final Fantasy XII is the Gambit system, which allows the player to program each character to perform certain commands in battle in response to specified conditions. Using gambits, the player may set reactions to different stimuli for each character. Each gambit consists of 3 parts: a target, an action, and a priority. The target specifies which ally or foe to act on and the condition for applying the action. For example, the target ally, HP less than 70%, causes the character to target in any ally whose hit points have fallen below 70%. The action is the command to be performed on the target. The priority determines which gambit to perform when multiple gambits are triggered. These heuristics guide the characters when acting autonomously, though player-directed commands are always given top priority. In Final Fantasy XII, a mysterious phenomenon known as mist is a key energy which allows characters to cast summoning magic and perform quickenings. After defeating an Esper in combat, the player will be able to summon it to the battlefield. Similar to Final Fantasy X, the summoned creatures become active participants in battle, as opposed to the cinematic attacks seen in previous games in the series. Unlike Final Fantasy X, however, Espers follow hidden gambits, rather than the player's direct command. The summoner remains an active member in the fight, able to attack and cast support magic, instead of leaving the party or standing idle while the summoned creature fights. An Esper will leave the battle if either the summoner or itself is knocked out, its time limit expires, or it executes its special attack. Some Espers have origins in Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and others are derived from the final bosses of previous Final Fantasy games such as Chaos, the final boss of the first Final Fantasy, and Zeromus, the final boss of Final Fantasy IV. Final Fantasy XII introduces quickenings, a new limit break system unique compared to those in previous games in the series. Characters learn quickenings by progressing to specific panels on the license board. Each character can learn 3 quickenings, which are unique to that character. Characters may string together quickenings into large combo attacks, called mist chains, via timed button presses. If a mist chain reaches a certain length, a final strike will be initiated at the end of the quickening cycle, called a concurrence. Growth system. As in many role-playing games, characters level up each time they earn a set number of experience points from defeating enemies. Each level gained increases the character's statistics and consequently improves performance in battle. Statistics include hit points, the amount of damage a character can receive, strength, the power of the character's physical attacks, and magic, the potency of the character's magical spells. In addition to leveling up, players may improve their characters via the license board. The license board is an array of panels that contain licenses, permits which allow a character to perform certain actions. The board is split into 2 parts. The upper part contains magic, technic, accessory, and augment licenses, and the bottom part is filled mostly with weapon and armor licenses. To use a magic, technic, or piece of equipment, the character must obtain its corresponding license by spending the required amount of LP to permit its use. LP are earned in battle along with the experience points. Like the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X, all characters may obtain all licenses on the board. However, each quickening and Esper license may only be activated by a single character. Plot setting. Final Fantasy XII is set within the land of Avalis during an age when magic was commonplace, and airships plied the skies, crowding out the heavens. At this time, magicite, a magic-rich mineral, is commonly used in magic spells and in powering airships, a popular form of transportation in Avalis. Avalis is divided into 3 continents: Audalia, Valandir, and Kirwan. Audalia is located in the western part of Avalis. The Rosarian Empire makes its home in the vast inland plains of this continent, as the eastern portion of it is largely desert or jagged, lawless regions so rich in mist, the ethereal manifestation of magicite, that airships cannot function. Valandir is the home of Imperial Arcadia, where lush highlands dot the landscape. Central to the story is Dalmascar, a small kingdom between the two continents and empires. Located in the middle of the Galtian peninsula of Audalia, Dalmascar is surrounded by an expanse of desert. The temperate climate of Dalmascar differs from the cold environs of Kirwan to the south and the lush plains of Valandir and Audalia. During this time, Avalis is beset by the pending war between the forces of Rosaria and Arcadia. Caught between the two powerful empires, Dalmascar and a number of smaller nations have already been subjugated by Arcadia 2 years before the game begins. Characters: the 6 main playable characters in Final Fantasy XII are Vaan, an energetic orphan of Rabanista who dreams of becoming a sky pirate; Ash, a determined princess of Dalmascar who lost her father and her husband in the Arcadian invasion; Bash, a disgraced knight of Dalmascar charged with treason for slaying the king; Balthier, a gentlemanly sky pirate who pilots his airship, the Stral; Fran, Balthier's partner and a Viera exile whose knowledge extends to legends and myths; and Penella, Vaan's childhood friend who accompanies him on journeys to keep an eye on him. The Arcadian Empire is ruled by House Solidor, headed by Emperor Grames. The Emperor's sons are Vane and Larsa, the former a military genius and the latter a charismatic seeker of peace. Judge Magisters, upholders of Arcadian law, protect House Solidor and execute every command issued by the ruling family. The technological marvels of airships and synthetic nethicite, a form of magicite that absorbs mist, are thanks to Dr. Sid, a prominent researcher from Arcadia. The resistance against Arcadia includes Dalmalscan Knight Vosla, an ally of Bash, Marquis Halim Ondor IV. The game's narrator and ruler of the Sky City, Buyurbar, Redis, a sky pirate based in the port of Balfenheim, and the Rosarian Empire, of which Al-Cid Margrace is a prince of the ruling family. The mythos of Final Fantasy XII revolves around a character known as Dinas King Wraithwall, a man who once united Avalis to create the Galtian Alliance in ages past. Story: Final Fantasy XII begins in Dalmalscar's capital city of Rabanista, where the happiness from the union of Princess Ash of Dalmascar and Prince Rosla of Nebradia is interrupted by the Arcadian Empire's invasion of Nebradia. In the subsequent war, Nebradia and Dalmascar are subjugated by Arcadia, the former's capital of Nebuda is subtly destroyed, Prince Rosla is killed, and the Dalmalscan king Raminas is thought to have been assassinated by the Dalmalscan captain Bash, moments after signing a treaty of surrender. Rex, a young knight under Bash's command, bears witness to the assassination, but later dies of his injuries. Marquis Ondor announces that Bash has been sentenced to death and Princess Ash has committed suicide. 2 years later, Vaan, the younger brother of Rex, is living as a street urchin in Rabanista. Despite his friend Penello's objections, he infiltrates the Rabanista palace during a dinner celebrating the appointment of Vane Solidor as consul. During the infiltration, Vaan encounters Balthier and Fran, a pair of sky pirates who are after the magicite that Vaan took from the royal treasury. Their escape attempt fails when a battle breaks out between Imperial troops and Dalmalscan resistance forces, and they end up in the sewers where they stumble upon the resistance leader, Amalia. Vaan, Balthier, and Fran are captured by the Arcadians and detained at the Nalbina dungeons. In Nalbina, the three encounter Bash, imprisoned but alive, and they escape with him. Bash pleads that his twin brother, Gabranth, had posed as him on the night of the treaty and was the true assassin. While skeptical at first, Vaan eventually believes him. With the help of Balthier and Fran, the party then travels to Booyah Bar, where Penella is kidnapped by Bagamnon, a bounty hunter trying to catch Balthier. While rescuing Penella, the party meets Lamont, a curious boy who is Vane's younger brother, Larsa, in disguise. Ash is also able to confront the Marquis, who captures the party and detains them on board the Arcadian airship Leviathan, headed by Judge Ghis. On the Leviathan, the party is reunited with Amalia, who is revealed to be Princess Ash. Ghis takes Van's Magicite, a royal Dalmalscan artifact, and sends it to Arcadia. The company escapes from the airship after defeating Ghis and returns to Booyah Bar, however, lacking the Magicite. Ash has no proof of her identity and Ondor suggests that Ash remain hidden in Booyah Bar. Instead, Ash escapes and attempts to collect the treasures of Dinas King Wraithwall, which would prove her royal lineage. The party acquires the Dawn Shard, a piece of deifacted nethicite, from Wraithwall's tomb, but Ghis seizes it. The small piece of magicite destroys the Leviathan, Ghis, and his fleet, while Ash and her party barely escape alive. The company later encounters Larsa, who seeks a peace treaty between Dalmascar and the Empire. Ash initially objects, but Larsa convinces her to pursue a treaty to protect Dalmascar. She goes to Mount Bura to seek the Grand Kiltia's Anastasis, Avalis's religious leader, and beg his approval of her as Queen of Dalmascar. The party learns in Mount Bura that many other influential people also hope to avert war. Larsa, who had been investigating Vane's connection to the manufactured nethicite, had made contact with Alcid Margrace, a member of the Rosarian Empire ruling family, to convince the two empires to cease their war. They plan to announce Ash's status as Dalmalscan queen and to persuade the Arcadian Emperor Gramis not to go to war. But the plan is thwarted when the Emperor is killed, supposedly by Arcadian Senate Chairman Gregorith, and Vane assumes the throne of Arcadia. With Anastasis' aid, Ash retrieves the Sword of Kings, which can destroy nethicite. While she obtains the sword, Anastasis is killed by Judge Bergen and Larsa is brought back to Arcadia. After defeating Bergen, Ash's party travels to Arcades and the Draclaw Laboratory, Dr. Cid's base of operations. Cid escapes and leaves clues that lead them to Jeruvagan, the supposed location of the Suncrest, the source of all deifacted nethicite. While the whole party is able to enter Jeruvagan, only Ash encounters the makers of the Suncrest, the immortal Ikaria, who pull the strings of history. They give her the treaty blade to cut pieces of her own. It is revealed that Dr. Cid's nethicite research was augmented by knowledge from the Ikarian heretic, Venate, who had allied with Cid and Vane to put the reins of history back in the hands of man. Vane aims to become the new Dinas king by using manufactured nethicite to conquer all of Avalis. Cid, revealed to be Balthier's father, was obsessed with researching the nethicite's power after his own visit to Jeruvagan and initial encounter with Venate. Their expansion campaign, which led to Dalmalscar's occupation and the destruction of the city of Nobudis, was waged solely to obtain and study deifacted nethicite. Ash is faced with the choice to heed the Ikaria and take pieces of the Suncrest for her revenge, or to destroy it and end the Ikarian control over history. Still undecided, Ash and the party travel to the Pharos at Ridorana Cataract, where the Suncrest is located, accompanied by the pirate Redis. At the top of the tower they face Gabranth, who admits to killing King Raminas in an attempt to force Ash to give in to her hate. After they overpower him, Cid arrives and fights the party. They defeat him, but before he dies, he uses nethicite shards to harness the full power of the Suncrest. Redis is revealed to be the former Judge Zect who had unwittingly unleashed the power of nethicite on Nobudis, wiping out the city. To atone for his guilt, Redis sacrifices himself to destroy the Suncrest and deifacted Nethicite forever. Ash learns from Alcid that a war between Arcadia and the resistance group led by Marquis Ondor is about to take place in Rabanastre. The Sky Fortress Bahamut, an enormous Nethicite-fueled airship armed with incredibly powerful weapons, had absorbed the incredible amount of mist released by the destruction of the Suncrest and now hovers above Rabanastre. Infiltrating the Bahamut with the aid of the Resistance, Bash confronts Gabranth, who is impressed by Bash's loyalty. The party encounters Vayne and Larsa in the midst of an argument over Vayne's plot for power, to which Larsa objects strongly. Larsa and Gabranth ally with the party to eliminate Vayne and Benate, though Gabranth suffers a mortal blow. After Vayne's defeat, Ash announces the end of the war, and Larsa takes over the Imperial army. The party escapes the Bahamut, now out of fuel after the final battle, with Gabranth's body and Larsa. Balthea and Fran remain on board the Bahamut, steering it away from Rabanastre to prevent a collision, though contact with them is lost. In the following year, Ash becomes Queen of Dalmascar, and Bash replaces Gabranth as Judge Magister, serving as guardian to Larsa, now Emperor of Arcadia. Van acquires his own airship, which he operates with Penella. Balthea and Fran survive their escape from the Bahamut. They recover the Stral and go to Bavenia. The game ends with Van and Penella setting out to visit them, embarking on another adventure.